Put a black canvas in front of someone, and most people will say, I cannot paint. Give them a camera and say, make a video. They will say, I don't know how. Ask them to write something, draw something, create something. And suddenly people become very humble. I'm not talented. I'm not creative. I'm not good at that. But the moment someone else creates something, something strange happens. Suddenly, those same people transform into professional critics. This could be better. The editing is bad, or they will say something like the idea is weak, the acting is cringe, and you start wondering, like, wait, a minute ago you said you were not an artist, so where did all this confidence come from? And this is not just something on the internet, this is a deep psychological behavior. We humans are extremely uncomfortable with visible effort. Because when someone tries to create something, whether it's art, a business, or a video, or even just expressing an opinion, they are doing something vulnerable. They are saying, here's something I made. And vulnerability does something strange to the people watching. It triggers comparison because when someone else tries, it quietly asks a question inside our minds. If they can try, why haven't I? And that question is uncomfortable, very uncomfortable. So the brain finds a quick way to escape it, criticism. Because criticism flips the situation. Instead of asking, why have not I tried? You start thinking, well, their work is not that good anyway. And suddenly your ego feels safe again. This is why criticism is so addictive. You do not have to risk anything. You do not have to fail publicly. You do not have to look stupid. You just sit there, observing, judging. But creating something is chaos. Nothing works the first time. You feel stupid half the time. Your ideas sound better in your head than they do in reality. And sometimes you watch what you made and think, wow, this is terrible. But here is something most people do not realize. Every artist, every creator, every successful person knows their early work is terrible. They are not blind to it. They are just willing to go through that phase. Critics, on the other hand, never experience that phase because they never begin. And that creates a strange imbalance. The people with the least experience creating things often have the strongest opinions about how things should be done. It's like someone who has never cooked a meal in their life standing behind a chef saying you should add more salt. And the chef just looks at them thinking, okay, then you can cook. But most critics never step into the kitchen. They just sit at the table, reviewing, judging, complaining. And the internet has made this phenomenon even bigger because online criticizing something costs nothing, no effort, skill, or risk. You can just wake up, watch someone's work for 10 seconds, and immediately type a comment explaining everything they did wrong. And in that moment, your brain gives you a small reward, a feeling of superiority. For a few seconds, you feel like the smart one. But here's the truth, critics rarely build anything meaningful because building something requires a skill that criticism destroys, the ability to tolerate being bad at something in the beginning. And most people cannot handle that. They want to look competent immediately. They want to look intelligent immediately. They want to avoid embarrassment at all cost. So instead of being the awkward beginner, they become the confident critic. And this is where things get dangerous for people who actually want to create something. Because critics do not just exist outside of you. Eventually, they start living inside your head. You record a video, and before anyone even watches it, a voice appears in your head. People will think this is cringe. You share an idea, and another voice says, This is not good enough. You try something new and suddenly your brain becomes the harshest critic in your room. And the scary part is most people listen to that voice. So they stop, they delete the video, they abandon the idea, they keep the project hidden, and the world never sees what they were capable of creating. All because of criticism that might not even exist yet. But here is the irony: the people who succeed in creative fields are not the most talented ones. They are the ones who learned to survive criticism. They understand something that most people never realize. Criticism is cheap, creation is expensive. Criticism requires zero courage. Creation requires a ridiculous amount of courage. Because when you create something, you are exposing your thinking, your personality, your taste, and sometimes even your insecurities. People can laugh at it, people can misunderstand it, people can hate it, and yet creators still show up. They still press upload, they still publish the book, they still release the art because they understand a simple truth. Every great piece of work started out as something imperfect. Even the creators you admire today have embarrassing beginnings. If you scroll far enough back on their channel, their early videos are awkward. If you read their first work, it's messy. If you see their early projects, they are full of mistakes. But those mistakes were not failures, they were the cost of learning. Critics never paid that cost, and that's why critics rarely evolve. Because when you are always judging others, you are not practicing anything yourself. You are just sharpening your opinion, not your skills. And here's the funny part: most critics are not even trying to be malicious. Many of them genuinely think they are being helpful. But helpful criticism only matters when it comes from people who have actually walked the same road. Like, for example, a filmmaker giving advice about filmmaking, that is valuable. An artist giving advice about art, that is also valuable. But someone who has never tried to create anything, giving endless opinions, that is just nonsense. And learning to ignore that noise is one of the most important psychological skills you can develop. Because if you try to please every critic, you will never create anything. Someone will always think it's bad. Someone will always think it's cringe. Someone will always think you look stupid. But those people are not the ones building anything. They are just watching from the sidelines. And if you spend your life trying to satisfy the audience sitting in the stands, you will never step onto the field. So maybe the goal is not to avoid criticism. Maybe the goal is something much simple: to become the kind of person who creates things despite it. Because at the end of the day, the world is full of critics. But the people who actually change things are the ones who kept creating while everyone else was busy judging.